Welcome, I'm Dave Henning, and you're listening to the Fresh Start Podcast, fresh ideas for business and personal growth. And today I'm very excited to have my guest all the way from Orlando, Florida, Nir Bashan. Nir, welcome.
Hey, Dave, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's going to be fun.
And let me just share with our audience a little bit of your background, which is really very cool, besides the fact that you have two Martin guitars in your office. So I love it.
There we go.
Nir is actually a world-renowned creativity expert. He's trained and worked with lots of leaders, including people at AT&T, Microsoft, Ace Hardware, the NFL Network, EA Sports, Suzuki, Activision, JetBlue. And now he's with me today talking all about
there we go.
Sharing your experiences. We're going to talk about your new book in a second, but that's you're all about the power of creativity to increase profitability, obviously, sales, upgrade customer service, which is what I'm all about, and create more meaning in our work. So isn't it great to know that that is actually doable, actually an option to increase your creativity? So let's talk about that. Tell us about what's going on with you these days.
Yeah, definitely. So I just released a book. It took me 6 years to write. Yeah, isn't that wild? 6 long years. I actually wrote it twice. I wrote it the first time, and it was 85,000 words. And I was like, writing a book, what's to it, right? You write it down, and you hit the button, it gets published. And so that was not the case. I had to write it twice because the first version of the book was far too long, and it wasn't focused and tight. And so I had an agent, a literary agent, tell me on the first phone call, take that file and drag it to the trash and empty it. And that's how we're starting. Isn't that wild?
It was that good.
It was that good, yeah. So I ended up, rewriting a lot of the book, and it's a totally new book. And that's what I'm up to these days. I'm trying to get the book out and get people excited about it. I'm hearing good feedback so far. I'm doing some more consulting that I've been doing for several years, and workshops and webinars now, and that sort of thing. It's very, very enjoyable work.
Yeah, and what I hear you saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you really enjoy the relationships that you've created with the people that you work with. Would that be a fair statement?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think relationships are everything, and we don't talk enough about what really works in business, right? We talk a lot about the analytics. We talk a lot about spreadsheet logic. We talk a lot about, third quarter earnings, but we don't talk enough about the soft skills, the creativity, the things that are most important to me, the relationships that we make with our vendors, with our employees, with our partners, so on and so forth are the most important things that we do. And none of that, Dave, is taught in school. None of it is anywhere out there. So I feel that's the most important thing.
How shocking. I mean, no, I'm just jokingly, sarcastically saying how shocking, because you're absolutely right. I do some consulting work with a good friend of mine who is a business coach. He was actually an engineer at Lockheed who was involved with developing the Hubble telescope. And he explained to me, by the way, just as a side note, it was 43 feet long, and they had to figure out a way to hold it up so they could stick it on the rocket. And they built this $100 million stand to hold the Hubble telescope up till they could launch it. All that to say, I love working with my engineer friends and all the data and statistics.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild.
So why in the world is creativity so important? You've touched on it a little bit here.
Yeah, so I feel that we've been operating on half of our potential, Dave, on a half tank of gas for far too long. And we're constantly wondering why things aren't better, why we aren't where we want to be. I encourage people when I talk and give keynotes and stuff like that to take a look around the world and what you're noticing in your community, in your town, in this country, in other countries, wherever you're from. You're noticing the potential of humanity at half capacity. And that sucks to me,
Yeah.
let's just take commuting, right? I spent 38 years or 36 years in Los Angeles. Many of those years were stuck in traffic. And so there's technology today that can time cars and, great creative thoughts that can, make traffic a thing of the past, yet has not come out yet. Why? It's because we are not creative enough to implement it. We've traded creativity and a sense of wonder for analytics, and we've capped ourselves off. And so for me, getting to the next level as a people, as a humanity, as world citizens, depends on the reawakening of creativity in everything we do so that our potential becomes unlimited.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not so ironic, but I just interviewed a gentleman in Malaysia who's originally from Phoenix, Scottsdale, and that's exactly what he said. He was talking about we are either creators or victims, is the kind of the way he put it in the context of today. But yeah, there's something that is released inside of us when we have a creative thought that drifts into our brain. So is everyone born creative, or is this a learned experience?
Yeah, so we are all born creative. It's something that we have in us, problem-solving skills that develop as we're babies. And literally, I've done some really good research on it. Babies as young as, I think we had it at 14 or 15 months, develop problem-solving skills before language even comes aboard, and we've seen it in infants as young as 8 months. It's amazing, and I think it's because it is the reason we are alive today. I think our ancestors 50, 60, 75,000 years ago had to get really creative in order for us to be here. The ones that weren't are gone now, and the ones that did, saw a stick in a little, a sharp object and went, wait a second, we've been, this bear or whatever has been killing all of the people in this village. But if I take the stick and I put a sharp object on it and I poke, maybe, I can, and it's those little victories, those little things that, we have established as a humanity that give us that DNA sense of creativity. And then what happens is we go to business school, God forbid, and it gets all washed away. So yeah, school.
That is so true. We get reprogrammed in the wrong way, unfortunately. So yeah, well, my feelings are still hurting because when I was like 10 years old, my parents wanted me to play an instrument. So my brother took violin lessons years ago. We wouldn't know him that way now, but he's a weightlifter and a sports guy. But yeah, it was my feelings are still hurt after all these years when the band teachers basically disqualified me. Well, I don't think David, can do that.
Wow.
Wow. I'm so sad.
Right. Yeah, you're still feeling it. Yeah, it's absolutely not true. And, everybody can be creative. You have to just relearn what we had as children. I get Amazon packages all day because my wife loves to order stuff. I mean, I'm not kidding you. There's 8 to 10 packages a day. I mean, we're keeping those guys in business, I swear to you. And
absolutely. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Yeah. And some of them are toys, and my son who's 3.5, will literally open a box, remove the toy, and play with the box.
Oh, yes.
That's literally what he does. And the box is, what are you building? Oh, it's a spaceship. It's a rocket. And, he has fun with stuff. You and I look at that box like, oh man, now we got to get the box cutters, cut out that. Why are they using that tape? That tape's impossible to rip. We're like that. And he sees a rocket ship with, the tape being the jet trail and stuff like that. What the good hell happened to us? We've just lost that sense. And for me, it's really about reclaiming it, getting it back, and then using it to solve problems in business. This isn't about meditation. This isn't about yoga and aligning your chakras and the 7 tones of Solomon. If you're into that, that's fantastic. But for me, it really is about actionable creativity to solve problems in a business.
Absolutely. That's the key word, action. And it's also, I think you hit on it, is just identifying, you're right on, spot on in terms of we're not all going to have the same creativity. It's going to be like amazing. And I've always argued that in times like one of John Maxwell's old sayings is, in times like these, you got to remember there have always been times like these. And you think of the creativity that had to come out of other pandemics, come out of World War II, come out of the where people had to shift and get creative fast, and you see quite a measure of that happening right now. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Dave, we're living in a time right now where there are people in the workforce who have never experienced adversity. It's crazy.
Oh
You
my
and I,
gosh.
and this seems like the heaviest load ever. It says in the Bible, every man, thinks his burden is the heaviest. And you see, people just freaking out right now. And, we've lived through, let's say, 9/11, the first and second Gulf War, Grenada and Vietnam and all these. It's like there's so much that has gotten us to where we are today, and we have it so damn good. We have it so good that, COVID comes along and people freak. They just lose it because of the comfort level that we have. And I talk about in the book how comfort creates zero creativity, zero innovation. And at times like these, you have two roads, right? One is you bitch and complain about it and do nothing. You kind of curl up in the corner somewhere, feeling bad for yourself, or you decide to take action. And in that action is the potential for amazing creativity, for amazing enterprise. This is the time now to come up with a really good idea that nobody else is doing and run with it. And so that's what I feel it's so important at a time like this, is not to go down the road of feeling sorry for yourself, but embracing, just like you said, embracing this change and coming up with something new and different in order to deal with what's going on.
This is an amazing conversation. I'll tell you why. If I had any hair on the back of my neck, I'd be standing up right now, because this is the message that America and the world really needs to hear. I'm not kidding. This is so powerful. And the ironic thing is that we connected on some software put out by a very smart gentleman in Manchester, England, named James Mulvaney, and that's how we connected. And this is kind of like a game show now. We've never met before, have we?
Nope, not that I know of.
Not in his lifetime, right? So, but all that to say, this is the message that the world and our country needs to hear, because things are happening fast, and man, this makes difficulty and struggle. It turns it to exciting.
Absolutely. I did a virtual keynote where, you do it through a computer yesterday for a group of 250 women in a association. And I asked all of them to take a minute. And I said, I want you to do a couple of deep breaths with me. And I know this seems ridiculous, but I promise you guys, we have it so good today. We have it so good that something like this, which is affecting a very small percentage of the population, and I'm not belittling it, it is an important thing, and we need to wear the mask and do the social distance thing. But we are so lucky to be in a status where, antibiotics are 80 years old. 80 years. That's it. I had appendicitis last weekend, and the doctor was like, in the 60s, people were routinely dying from what you have. You're going home tonight. Take it easy, son. I mean, literally, and those types of things are such amazing advances. And so I asked the group, I said, please, let's take 3 deep breaths, okay? let's get all of this negativity out. When you're negative, creativity is zero. When you're positive, creativity is everywhere. You just got to look for it, and you got to create it, and you got to make it. And so we did the 3 breath, and I got an email today from an attendee, and she was like, it was the first time that I really realized that I am in control and that I have the option of choosing to be defeated by this or choosing to look for solutions to it. And I said, I can't wait. I'm so excited that you're choosing to see the solution. And all it took was just somebody to say, time out, stop. This is out of control. Okay. Let's really focus on what we can do, and then let's implement. And that was a pretty nice moment.
We are blessed here where we live to actually have a grocery store right across the street, right next to the Starbucks. But the reason I tell you that is I actually walk in, not because of the elevator music, but I will actually walk those aisles casually, and tears come to my eyes to look at those shelves filled with anything and everything you could ever need. It's almost, except for obviously our Amazon orders.
Right.
And yeah, there's an old children's song or something. Count your blessings, name them one by one.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta do more of that these days. And there is going to be, I hire a lot of kids, right? And so I have millennials on the staff who have never experienced hardship. And for me, it's funny, and I don't mean to belittle it, but I tell them, guys, this is the first of many. Okay, don't worry, something else is going to pop up. It might be medical, it might be financial, it might be, a different thing, and how you deal with it is far more important than what happens. And you are in control of that ability to deal with that, and it really is about the relationships you make, the way you treat your family, the way that you sort of approach a stranger in need, and that sort of thing are some of the most important virtues that we have as people. And I promise you that if you're staying true to who you are as a creative human being, and somebody who can match and merge the analytics and the creative side, you'll do well. But it's really all about understanding that this is the first of many.
And, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this probably, but I've always said, not just now, in decades past, I really feel sorry for people who've not been through anything. I'm not kidding. I just feel that way. There's a certain toughness that comes personally when you have to battle some struggles and get through some stuff.
Yep.
And not be afraid to fail.
Yep. Yeah. It's incredibly important. I ran a business in Hollywood that I drove into the ground, and, we had to get rid of employees and the whole deal. And I really screwed up. I had the option to do, an auxiliary service and different products that were around the main offering. And, I thought that I didn't need to do those things. And literally I led people to a demise. And at the time it was incredibly painful, but now it's kind of the best thing that's ever happened, because the amount of things I learned from that, Dave, were unbelievable. It's stuff that I still practice today. What people don't understand is that a forest needs to burn down once in a while to create soil that is fertile enough for new things to grow. You have to do it. And instead of being afraid of those things, understanding that they're a natural part of the life cycle of a business or of a career will empower you to learn those lessons and do even better the next time around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of Hollywood, you were the youngest professor at a school in Pasadena at one time, as well as you've done some undergraduate courses teaching at UCLA. Is it okay to say UCLA up here in the Northern California?
I think it's okay. Yeah.
So, So why are we so inclined to analytics? What's going on? We're just, in some cases, we could be obsessed by just the analytics. And that's what's being sold today. down the street here at the Googleplex is analytics.
Yeah, it really is about a love of quantification. And we are told that if we can assign a number to something, then it must be real. I think human beings have been on a lifetime quest to understand the world and understand the meaning of life, if you will, right? And if we can assign a number to something, God, that makes us feel good. We're like, yes, this is one pen. This is, 18 apps on my cell phone. Oh, I've done a good job. Well, have you? I mean, what does the number really mean? And what does it really do for your product or your service? Listen, I do work with a lot of CFOs and financial organizations. And, you would think that they wouldn't like my message, but they love it. What they understand is that, listen, you talk to any CFO, anybody who deals with numbers on a regular basis, and they will tell you there are blind spots in the numbers. They'll tell you just got to ask. And we don't ask because we assume, here's our third quarter earnings. They must be true. Yeah, they are true. But there's gaping holes. You can drive a truck through them of soft skills, of a relationship that is brewing that will lead to more sales that hasn't matured yet. There are hires that we're going to bring in but didn't work out, but that looked great on the resume but didn't work out. And we assume, they didn't work out, whatever, let's look at the number. But instead of doing the whatever part, which gets us only 50% of our capabilities, we need to start looking at creativity and soft skills and things that don't appear as a line item in a quantification method to realize where the gaps are, Dave. That's where we have to look.
Aha. The truth is out. I think my mind immediately went to Lee Iacocca's autobiography where he got fired by Ford after creating the Mustang. Right. And then he goes to Chrysler, which was a failing company. He takes $1 a year salary at first and comes out with the Dodge minivan and revives that company. But he talks about in that book, the first time I heard the word bean counters, which I'm relating to what you just said. But yet, you're absolutely right. I think there's a blind spot in all of us. I was adjusting the mirror on my car yesterday and thinking about, cars have blind spots. We all have blind spots. And when we recognize that, and if I hear you correctly, there's definitely a place for analytics, but there's got to be a balance with basically reality.
It's all about the balance. And you're absolutely right. We have gone to extremes in this country, right? We're either far left or far right. We're either for this or against that. And the world sees similar things as they sort of follow our lead still. And what we have to do is get more to the middle. It is not about losing analytics. It is not about losing creativity. It's not about doing only creative things. And it's not about doing only analytics. It's about bringing it together and combining it to be a more balanced person who can then choose a direction and choose the best from this side and choose the best from that side. Becomes an incredibly empowered moment. And if we're able to do that in our businesses, no matter what we do, from medicine to manufacturing, technology, to shipping, it doesn't matter what your business is. But if you're able to look at it and say, okay, there are some gaping holes here from the analytics, but the analytics is what I've been told to follow my entire life. Okay, but there's holes in it. So I'm going to borrow from the creative side, from soft skills and, all these different types of methodologies. And I'm going to combine them into one kind of super unit. Your performance is guaranteed to go up. Your performance, your quality, everything is guaranteed to start to rise. And that's kind of what I want people to do. I'm on a mission to have people merge the two sides together. We both have that friend who still lives in their mom and dad's basement, who's like a genius. They've got great ideas, right? But they're 56. They still live in the basement with mom and dad, and they can't get their product to market. And then you and I have that analytical friend who won't let an idea out if it was the last thing they've ever done, right? And so we need to bring those two to the middle and have the rigid rigors of analytics, but also allow for creativity to lift us up.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm speaking with Nir Bashan. You're in Orlando today, and you lived in the LA area for how many years? 36?
36 years.
Yeah, yeah. Outstanding. Yeah.
37 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, almost my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, I'm obligated in my mind anyway to ask you the typical questions. What was it like to meet Woody Harrelson and Rod Stewart?
Yeah, it's funny. I worked with some famous people, and I actually started in music. I was in recording studios from when I was a kid all the way
Oh,
to like
cool.
my early 20s. Yeah, I just, back when
Awesome.
you couldn't record at home.
Right.
Remember that? You had to
Oh, yeah.
pay big money, and there was a big console with a bunch of knobs, and
Oh, yeah.
I was really into it. And I noticed that
Analog knobs, not
analog, yeah.
digital. Yeah.
When
Oh,
I
yeah.
started, we were recording on 2-inch tape. You
Oh
remember
my
that?
gosh. Oh yeah. I remember splicing tape with a tape dispenser.
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. That's how you edited parts out, and you would literally take the tape and cut it with a razor. And there was like
Yeah.
a dozen razors because heaven forbid you use the same razor for two cuts because it's got to be a perfect cut.
Exactly.
And then you'd get tape and you'd put it on the back, you'd clamp it, and it's embarrassing. I used to calibrate the machines with like a little
right.
screw. Do you remember the little screwdriver? And
Yeah.
you'd play a tone. You'd play tones on the tape deck, and then for hours. For hours. It still haunts me. I still have nightmares about aligning a tape machine. Keeps me up at night.
There's a therapist I know.
To help with these things. But so what I discovered was there's just like dealing with crisis, there's two kinds of responses. There's two kinds of musicians and actors. There are the losers who are drug and alcohol addicts, and that's how they get creative. And there are the professionals, which far outweigh those people. There are that's the Rod Stewarts and the Woody Harrelsons and the KRS-One and the Cypress Hills of the world and the different bands that I've worked with. These people are consummate professionals. They show up to the recording studio at 9 a.m. They leave at 5. They call their wives or their husbands or whatever. Yeah, I'll pick up diapers on the way home. And I've seen, amazing things in a recording studio. I've worked on hip hop albums where if you watch the videos, you think, wow, this guy's going to come in with a machine gun and, 70 people and an entourage and, the whole deal. And, the guy shows up. There's none of that. There is a spiral bound notebook with notes, and there's a pen, and there's people doing creative work. And, did this line work? No, this line didn't work. Okay, cool. And they go in and they perform, and they have a replenishable supply of creativity. And those are the people that inspired me to write the book, because I saw, hey, if they can do it, then I can do it. Why can't I? I'm not that different. Yeah, I have to pick up diapers on the way home too, and I'm getting milk. And what's the difference between me and these people? And the difference was that they had a repeatable and a routine level of being able to harness creativity at will, instantly when they wanted it. And so I learned so much from them at how to organize thoughts and how to make new ideas and how to make different tracks and different melodies and stuff like that. And, then I ran companies, then I worked at advertising agencies, and I learned from this incredible spectrum. I had a furniture refinishing company at one point that I owned. And then, I ran an advertising agency that had, $500 million in billings with amazing companies. And I learned that if you just grab a pen and a piece of paper, write stuff down, circle it, and organize your thoughts, you will have a methodology for creativity. I talk about it in the book. I talk about exercises. It's not a theoretical book. I had taught in school, but now I run a business and have for many years. This book is really all about doing drills and practical things to become more creative. And I teach people how to grab a pen and a sheet of paper and manufacture creativity.
Wow, fantastic! Yeah, I'm really into documentaries, and I watched that movie about the Wrecking Crew, who was all the backup bands for everything that ever came out way back when.
Oh,
And
cool! Yeah,
they're sitting there just figuring it out, and it's just amazing to think. Wow, this is so inspiring, Nir. You're inspiring me, man. I got to go out and write a song now with my.
yeah.
I always wanted to write a song.
I love Post-its. Keep writing stuff down. It's all about.
Look,
There you go.
I got Post-its.
Proud of you. Proud of you.
It's old school, but it's new school now because nobody ever knew what they were.
You're right.
So, and the book is called The Creator Mindset. What is something, Nir, that we can all do today to become more creative, in addition to Post-it notes?
Post-it notes, write stuff down. Another thing you can do to become creative today is to start to celebrate your little victories. Dave, I work with companies across the world, and I've sat in many conference rooms with the leadership team or an owner, and they're telling me, Nir, this is my 1 year, this is my 3 year, this is my 5 year, and they're detailed. They're North Star kind of plan. And when we get there is the time that we're going to celebrate. And I urge them to. Yeah, it's good to have a 1, a 3, a 5, but it's also really good to actually celebrate the little victories. There are little things that happen along the way to that milestone that are incredibly valuable. There was an ice cream machine salesman a few years ago, and his thing was analytics. He wanted to sell a bunch of machines. So he got a list, and he said volume, right? I'm going to call a bunch of people and, work it and get a bunch of people to buy machines. And that worked for a while. But then, like every analytical business, it soon failed. And he was like, what's going on? Why is this not working? I'm doing everything right. I got a really great voice. And, hey, would you like to buy my machine? Then, the whole deal. And I don't know. And then he noticed there was a restaurant in California that kept ordering machines. They were making milkshakes. And the machines kept breaking. And so one day he shows up. He took a creative sort of whim. He was like, let's see what this is all about. So he showed up. There was a line out the door, 45 minutes long. He waits in line, finally gets to the counter, orders a burger, and has the best cheeseburger he's had in his entire life, right? And that guy was Ray Kroc, and the restaurant was McDonald's. Had he have just stayed with that 3 year, which would sell more machines, who knows what would have happened. But because he was willing to listen and to look at those little breadcrumbs along the way, he was then able to transition from his 3 year, which he thought would be this, into a 3 year, which is now that. And I urge your listeners, I know that you're an entrepreneur, that you're a business owner and have been for a long time. And I know that your listeners are very much into learning about how to improve profits and get to the next level of their business. I urge you guys listening, please start to look at what those little victories are. Occasionally I'll get people who say, Nir, there are no little victories. We're on this path or whatever, and we're waiting for us to get there. And to them, I say, you're not looking hard enough, because there are little things that are working brilliantly. And if you're able to align to those things that are working, then perhaps your main path will change a little bit. And that is a wonderful creative thing.
And celebrate your employees. I think back to that very first, radio job that I had when I had scared to death. I had to give myself a raise by leaving the studio and going across the hall and sit at a desk and walk the sidewalks talking to business owners. And it was quite a transition from fear to success. But I got on my wall some stuff from years ago where the company, Universal Broadcasting, was at that time the largest privately held radio chain in America. And they designed an award for me that is on my wall today because It was celebrating those little successes that kept me motivated and thankful and appreciative. And I look back now on my own personal history, and I'm blown away, really, by how all of this has evolved over the years. And like Paul Simon sings, still crazy after all these years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have to recognize contributing talent to the organization, making an award. What a brilliant idea. Talk about creative, and it gave you that impact in your life that, still resonates today. And that's an important and incredibly worthwhile venture.
Yeah, I have a confession to make. I'm a kid that grew up with a fair amount of low self-esteem. I was very shy. You wouldn't know that now. I'm kind of a blabbermouth, but yeah. So I've been privileged to meet some very interesting people. I interviewed the gentleman that put Seinfeld into syndication for Sony Pictures, and he's walked the red carpet, but he went through some personal struggles, and I was blessed to meet him one day. No coincidence, obviously enough. Coincidences are overrated. I call them divine appointments. I don't care what you want to call them. That's what I call them. So our listeners are dying to know how can creativity help my career and my business. You're talking in all these great ideas and terms. It sounds good. I'm not so sure. What can this do for my business, my career?
Yeah, so it really is about understanding the potential that creativity can give you when executed correctly and when executed with full force. So, for example, right, you're looking at your career, you're in middle management, you want to get to a director level. That's your 5-year or your 3-year. And, you notice that Shelley has been in her position and she worked 5 years in this position and then got to the next position. Does that mean that you need to do that in order to get promoted? So I want people to get creative about this stuff, right? Maybe it is about going to the manager and taking on additional responsibilities and telling them, hey, I don't expect to wait 5 years like Shelley did because of these additional responsibilities. Maybe it's going to a competitor, working there for a year and then bouncing back. There are so many options today when you think of things creatively, and for a professional, thinking creatively can have an incredible impact on them getting to the next level. For a business, it is unfortunate that if you are not creative, you will be going out of business soon enough. There's only a certain band of time which a product or service is relevant. I don't care who you are and I don't care what you do. Only a certain band of time. And it is your job to extend that band of time as long as humanly possible. And extending that band of time requires a investment in creativity, because if you're not creative and you're not able to keep up with the changes, then you're dead in the water soon enough. So for me, those two things are incredibly important, whether you're on a career path or whether you own your own business.
I'm speaking with Nir Bashan in Orlando today, and we're talking about his new book. It's been released now, right? The Creative Mindset. It's out, isn't it? In McGraw.
Creator Mindset. Yeah, it's been out for about 3 weeks now. No, a month. It's been out a month, a little less than a month.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So listen, I ask everybody this question because, I'm a goofball. I like to mess with people. So I'm going to, it was really ironic. I told in some other podcasts that I actually ignored James Mulvaney's email. I'd signed up for his podcast software to beta test it over a year ago. After I thought, I want to own my own radio station. So I got his software, built a radio station. And then he says, hey, beta test the podcast software. So I did, because the platform was way cooler than this previous stuff I was using. Cool. And then he comes out with this email. I'm watching his emails. Hey, I got this matchmaker.fm thing I'm working on. And why don't you try it? I ignored it for 6 months. And then when I looked at it in January, I built this profile. And ironically enough, he says, hey, to launch this thing, I'm doing this 30 podcasts in 30 days, Dave. You want to be one of them? Oh, heck yes. So I asked James, what was your very first job? And let me get this straight. His was, I'm getting this mixed up. I'm thinking about the guy from South Africa who used to pick potatoes when he was a teenager. Okay. So what I ask everybody that. So that's my question. That's my big finale question. Well, it's not the finale, but what was your first job ever?
My first job ever was going door to door in Los Angeles in the 80s, washing cars. That was my first job ever. It was my first business. And, I asked people to hand over the keys to their precious 1984 Ford Taurus. with the lines. Remember that thing looked like a fridge with wheels, and they were tight with the keys. That's my Ford. I'd ask people to hand over the keys to their shiny new 1982 Pontiac 6000. You remember that one?
Oh my
that even
gosh!
Looked more like a fridge, and people were like, "Hell no! Get away from here." And so I learned how to be creative in that business, where we ended up doing a lot more errands for people than washing cars, because nobody's going to give a 9-year-old keys in Los Angeles. They think you're going to steal their car. So we ended up cleaning front porch. I ended up washing trash cans, which, come to think of it, picking potatoes sounds way better. I'm sorry. Your other guest had it way better. Because I had to, those big like street trash cans, and I had to get in there and clean it, and and this is before gloves and all that stuff. You just did it. You just got your hands in there and you did it. And so, so that's what we did, and we got between $1 or $2 to maybe $5 a pop, and we got stiffed. I remember clearly washing somebody's car, their 70s jalopnik, the beater, with like a busted tire practically, held with spit and gum and a little bit of duct tape. And I remember washing their car and getting it as nice as possible, and then coming back, sir, madam, we washed your car. And they were like, okay, slam the door,
Oh my gosh.
Who would sniff a 9-year-old, right? Welcome to Los Angeles.
My gosh.
Those are the things that built character. Like you said earlier, you got to go through adversity in order to get better at what you do. It builds character. It builds grit. And so that was my first job. And I way would have preferred to pick potatoes. Oh,
no kidding. Well, I would have let you wash my rolls. I actually had this car. I had it's called a Rolls Canardly. It rolls down one hill and Canardly get up the next.
There you go.
I also had a Chevette. No,
right,
I really didn't have a Chevette. That was my brother-in-law.
Nice.
So my question today to Nir Bashan from Orlando. You got a new book out. How can I help you? How can I help you promote this book? Get this fantastic message out. It's vital, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. It is really vital that this message goes forward. How can I help you? Is there a website? Is there a link, a book link?
Yes, sir. So it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's everywhere that you like to buy books. It's being translated into 2 languages. You can visit me online. My name is Nir, Nir Bashan, BASHAN.com. I have a community on my website with, several C-level people all the way down to students. And we talk about creativity. It's moderated, so there won't be a 99-cent Viagra ad popping up or anything like that. And
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, hey now.
Just kidding.
I'd love to see you on there, Dave, and your listeners too. We have a lot of people contributing good stuff. I'd love for you to hear what your thoughts are. Pick up a book and let me know what you think.
Absolutely. It has been a real pleasure to have you on my show today, the Fresh Start Podcast, because this is a fresh idea for business and personal growth after all. So, man, you just brought it on, brother. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we need to plan on episode number 2 of this little chat here, brother.
I'd be very, very, very happy to do that.
And I'll come down to Orlando and we'll I don't know if you play golf or anything, but I'd love to do a little speaking gig with you someday.
That would be fun. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I could tell more jokes, and you could, train people.
Right. I'll do the work, and you do the funny part.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about memorization skills.
Right.
The humor brings it home, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks for being with me.